How did one commercial real estate agent go from zero to over $4 million in listings in his first year by thinking outside the box? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today on a follow-up episode with one of our most popular guests, Jerred Morris. So keep listening. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. We have an awesome interview for you today. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview was because our most downloaded episode was an episode about messaging. It's like a public service announcement about messaging, basically, which is what we're known for. But we did an episode with a guest probably about 6 or so months ago, and the title of it was How to Build a Business Without Needing a Following. And it was our second most downloaded episode, and I hate to say it, but it's probably on pace to be our most downloaded episode sooner rather than later. And so I was like, well, why don't we have that guest back on the show? So Jerred, welcome back, man. Glad to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here. I'm slowly becoming popular.
Yeah, slowly but surely. Well, I think it's pretty cool because the topic of the episode was about how to build a business without a following. And I think so many people get into the online space and they're just like, well, we need a following. I'm going to focus on Instagram followers and all this stuff. And although that stuff can help you, it sometimes is so backwards to building an actual real business. And I think so many people get this idea, if I want to build an income or I want to build a business, I need online presence. And we're kind of an example of that. Like, we only have 7,000 Instagram fans, but we're a multi-million-dollar business. But you have like no social media presence, and you're building out all sorts of different businesses. On the last episode, we talked about how you were, like flipping houses. You were getting rental properties. You started that toilet company, like the porta potty company, like all of this stuff, SEO. And now you're doing commercial real estate. And I would love to dive into that in this episode and talk about how you built, because you went from like nothing to successful business without needing a following, and you did it relatively under a year or so. So for those of us that don't know much about real estate, commercial real estate, can you just kind of give a little bit of a background of how that model works? And then we'll kind of dive into what you've done to build it out. Sure.
So commercial real estate is archaic in nature. It's not tech savvy. It's not forward. It doesn't have like a forward outlook, or no one's on the bleeding edge. It's a very, again, archaic, old school business. And those are typically businesses that I love. And the reason is the competition is non-existent. And that's what I seek when I start a business. So I'm agnostic. But that's why I went to commercial real estate. It's again, simple. It's office space, warehouse space, retail space, or raw land. And there's different ways to participate in it. You choose which way you want, what product or products that you want to get involved in. It's a little hard to break in. The reason is a lot of people try to get involved in commercial real estate, but none of the brokers want to talk to you, which goes back to the original podcast. Yep. Why do they not want to talk to you? Because you show up and you said, hey, I'm a hard worker. I'll show up at 8 a.m. and I'll leave at 5 p.m. and, I'm going to work hard. And they're like, yeah, we have a room full of hard workers. So what then you need to determine, well, why would they want to talk to you? So every commercial broker, commercial agent wants to talk to you when you have a deal. Yep. So how do you get a deal? You figure out how to make your phone ring first. So once you figure out how to make the phone ring and the leads generate, then you go to the broker and you say, hey, I have no clue what I'm doing. This is what I did. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. I had a little bit of idea, but just like I'm absolutely clueless when it comes to commercial. However, I have these 9 tenants that want to lease in upwards of 2 million square feet.
Yep.
So I'm just looking to team up with somebody to make this happen because I need some help. And they're like, sign at the bottom, you're hired.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is I think so many you went in without that expertise of the industry itself, because at the end of the day, and this is the theme from the last episode, you just need to learn how to make the phone ring. It's not a very difficult concept, but so many people focus on so many different things. But what I love about or not different things, but they focus so much on like the product. And in your case, the product would be like what a lease agreement looks like, or like, I don't know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Contract, lease agreement, how to negotiate the little intricacies. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I love about and this is a reoccurring thing from the podcast, is again, it's about just making the phone ring. But what I love about you is you always take a non-traditional approach to a lot of this stuff. And I was listening to a podcast about the guy who started the 5-Hour Energy. And what he was saying reminds me a lot about kind of your outlook on things, where they were trying to find the recipe for that 5-Hour Energy. And he went to like chemist after chemist after chemist after chemist that's worked in the industry. And they all said, it's impossible. What you're trying to create is impossible. So what he did is he went to someone else, a different chemist that was in a different space, but didn't know any better. Like they weren't told what was possible and what's not possible. So they just said, let's do it. Let's give it a try. And then they created it. And that's kind of what you do. You can go into any space. I'm very confident that you could go into any space and know nothing about the product or whatever, but you just know how to work backwards to figure out how to make the phone ring with the right person for those people. And that's what I love about you. And you took kind of a non-traditional approach, and I already know kind of how you're doing it, but can you kind of talk about what did you start to do to make that phone ring in that space of commercial real estate? What was the process that you went through?
Sure. So just to take one, before I address that,
Yep.
for everyone listening, it just goes, I think you're at this inflection point, and you and I have spoken about it multiple times.
Yep.
Is this accreditation nonsense? This education nonsense where you graduate from your college with your MBA or your 4-year or whatever, they're worthless. They're absolutely worthless. Nobody wants to talk to you. No one cares about your stupid sheet of paper. No one cares about your GPA. They don't anymore. And the problem is your mom and your dad or your uncle, they're telling you, hey, you need this education, because they don't know what to tell you, because the game has completely changed, and they can't tell you that they don't know.
Right.
So you're listening to these people. They love you to death. They're trying to help you, but they're trying to help you with limited information.
Yeah.
So for everyone that's, struggling with school or what to do, just understand it comes down to, can you make your phone ring? What are you actually doing with your time? What are you building on your own without anyone else? You're the one who will get the job. You're the one who will succeed. You're going to smoke everybody with the education, everybody with a great last name that gets a job. You're going to beat them, because at some point the last name is not going to pull weight.
Yep.
And you are going to come roaring past them because you have a process in which business is driven. So let's kind of get into that. Let's a decent
but even to go on, and it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or if you want to go get a job, that philosophy is going to make you better at what you do. And if your job inside of a company is not to make the phone ring, like you're not in the marketing, you're not in the sales, the same concept can be applied to anything. And I remember you were telling me about the person who ran the Chamber of Commerce, and you were just like, man, this person just doesn't get it. They're so lazy. They're not following up. And that mentality of like, I'm just going to kind of show up and I'm just going to do the to-dos and I'm just going to do this. And it's like, oh, why am I not getting raises and blah, 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 blah. It's because you don't have that philosophy of make the phone ring. And again, it doesn't mean make the phone ring. It means, how do I improve my position? What's the objective of why I was hired? How do I not only hit that, but excel? How do I think outside the box? How do I improve it? How do I do things differently? And that's the philosophy you're talking about.
Yeah, they believe that they're doing something. My belief is you're doing nothing. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And the people that are kind of like a rent seeker, they show up, they take their check, and they go home.
Yeah.
There's going to be a very rude awakening. They're going to turn you into software.
Yeah.
They're going to sass you out of your job. And if you don't think the CPAs and these analysts and all these other jobs that with these accreditations, you can do that with Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like, here's a perfect example. CCIM. It's a phenomenal stamp accreditation in commercial real estate. So there's 12 CCIMs at our office, which is unheard of. Yeah. That is a ton. Out of 16 brokers, 12 have CCIM. So I went to one of them and I said, I have this crazy thought. And he was like, great, what is it, Jerred? I just said, your CCIM is going to be worthless in 5 years. And he goes, okay. And I said, why can't I go? CCIM is nothing more than math. Yeah. When you break it down, it's Excel spreadsheets. I just said, why can't someone just develop a SaaS product that gives it to everyone and you just input the data? And he said, that is 100% accurate. They're going to do that. And he goes, the one catch is good data, bad data. If you don't know your product, then your numbers are going to be skewed, right? Because you put in bad data. So you're going to get bad outcomes. But the CCIM is no longer holding the weight that it used to. So what they charge for it, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for this accreditation is going to become worth less and less and less. Really, it's going to come down to the people doing the work, because real estate is local. As long as you know what things trade for, go to the SaaS product, pump it in, and your CCIM status.
Yeah.
So it's coming. It's eating everything. And the rent seekers and these rubber stamp people that just get paid, way more than what they're worth are going. I think it flips. Yeah. The doers and the creators are going to make the most. The rent seekers and the people that just want to punch a clock, I think it absolutely sent to the wood chipper. Yeah. I like it's coming.
Well, you've already see examples of it. So like you go into Target and they have self-checkout stuff now. Where it's a machine. We look at LegalZoom. They've taken the basics, legal things that you would 10 years ago had to hire a lawyer for that you can just go do on your own now. TurboTax is another one where 10 years ago you would have to go hire a CPA or accountant to go do a normal return. And now you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. And it's only going to get better or worse, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is going to happen. And I also think we're already starting to see what you're talking about, which is where a degree just doesn't hold the weight anymore because everyone has a degree, where 50 years ago, only certain people had it, but now everyone has it. And I think to try to get something that puts you $50,000, $100,000 in debt to just get you to a level where everyone else is already at, people aren't going to want to do that. So they're going to have to look for alternative ways to kind of get that edge. How do they separate themselves from everyone else in the market? And again, that's exactly what you do. So let's jump back into the commercial and talk about how you started to build that from scratch. Because you were at scratch 0%, like just starting from brand new. So what was your thinking on getting the phones a ring and getting those listings?
Sure. Everything that I started from dirt.
Yep.
There was nothing ever given to me. It was just me with random ideas from traveling and being around people like yourself. Yep. That you craft these ideas, you can nurture these things. And then you have these, with the intro, I've done a lot of different things. It's just the ideas flow. And then I run them. I think the best way for me to explain it is it's a science experiment. People treat it mentally way too personally.
Yeah.
If this business fails, my mom's or dad is going to accuse me of being a failure, worthless, So you have these mental blocks. You have these things that get in your way of actually doing the work and achieving really what you were meant to do. So I frame it as a science experiment. So I go and I get some different chemicals and I put them in a bottle and I shake it up and I see if I get the product that I'm looking for. And if not, then I try different chemicals, or maybe I do different ratios. So that's how I apply. That's kind of my thought process when I look at new ideas or random ideas that I have as I go through life. So my background, a little bit of real estate, it's pretty much where I gravitate towards naturally, or some type of home services, but it's always in that realm of real estate. From that, I was in residential, and there was a lot of things that I'm not great at when it comes to residential. I don't like I don't like people. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I love talking to people about things that I have deep interest in. But you'll never see me out at a nightclub or a bar talking randomly to a whole bunch. It's not my thing. I'm more introverted.
Right.
So, but with residential, you really need to be an extrovert, because those are the ones that get paid. Those are the ones that have tremendous success. The ones that understand how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement, go broke, because that's not what residential real estate is about. It's about PR, putting yourself out there like you're the one that everyone. It's like it's a popularity contest.
Yeah, personal brand.
I'm not great at that.
Yep.
Obviously, go look at my social media following. It's like 50. There you go. It's a perfect example, right? I'm like the anti-Brandon.
Yeah.
So, but here's the beauty of it for anybody listening. If that resonates with you, there's hope.
Well,
so you just have to find the right niche.
What I think it is also a level of self-awareness. Like you just have a level of self-awareness to go, this is what I'm good at, this is what I enjoy, and I'm going to stick to who I am and find something that fits who I am, because then you're not fighting the natural tendencies. You're not fighting who you are wired to be. You're leaning into that and finding that venture. So, I mean, I love that.
Yes. So like sports analogy, I love track and field.
Yep.
So if you run the 400 meter, why are you running the marathon?
Right.
Just run the 400 and go get the gold. But it's okay. And then the marathon, let them go run marathons and be respectful and appreciate each other, but kind of know your lane and and like what you said, just be objective about who you are and just own it from top to bottom. It will set you free.
Yeah.
So I naturally started looking. I didn't want to go into a brand new industry, and I started looking at more and more commercial.
Yeah.
Did some basic research, and I just said, okay. And kind of going back to the original podcast, what do I look for? Archaic, rent seeker type businesses. I love when the major demographic is 55 and older and they're all white males.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, stubborn know-it-alls. They will never change. Any new idea is garbage. They'll resist it till the very bitter end, right before they go broke or they quit. And that gives you great opportunity if you bring a digital or some type of online perspective to it. Why? Because no one is doing it. So everybody's everyone's on one side of the boat. I want to be on the other side of the boat because that's typically where all the money is going to be made. Right. Once everything is known, there's no money, right? Everyone knows what a box of cereal costs. Everyone knows, like, if you just look at it, because it's known. Okay, you want to be more opaque, because when you move into something that's less known or less understood, that is where the most money will always be made. So that's how I look at it. So I liked it. From those points of view, it had the basic building blocks to run a science experiment. Yep. So next up, I jump online. Who am I competing against? Who's online? What do their websites look like? Really simple. It takes you 30 minutes, especially if you're local, right? Yep. So I live in Austin, Texas. So I look at the Austin market and there's one guy. Okay. So then I look at him and I say, okay, great. What is he doing right? What is he doing wrong?
When you say one guy, obviously there's not just one broker in the area. Does that mean just one person was coming up in search, or what does that mean?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So great question. Awesome catch. So there's hundreds and hundreds of commercial brokers here. Hundreds.
Yeah.
One guy is on the front page of Google. The other listings are directories. They're nonsense. They offer no value. They just offer you pictures and addresses.
So it's like Yelp and sites like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. In commercial, they're different names, but yes, that's what it is. And then they love it because they own tons of the front page. And then what they do is they sell the 55 and up white male that's a bump. Yep. They sell them leads at $1,000 to $2,000 a month, which is hilarious. Yep. So some of them buy them and some of them don't. And then, they go down that route. The problem with that route is you own nothing. So the minute you stop paying them, your lead flow is zero.
Right.
So what do you really have? You have really nothing.
Yep.
So it's not a game that I like to play. I like to own my stuff because I want to play long. That's playing short. So then I look at this competitor. What is he doing right? What is he doing wrong? And I find gaps, and I'm like, great, this is easy. Like I'm in. Yeah. So I buy a domain, spin up a website, start creating the basics, create content, put it out there, let Google know that you're there. And then I go and I get my Google map listing as well, rank the map listing. Those can rank very quickly nowadays if you know what you're doing.
Which by the way, for everyone listening, what Jerred's describing right now, if you just go to Google and you type in how to SEO, these are like basic things that most people won't do. Like you can find 100 articles that will tell you to like create content, link it back, put blogs on there on the thing, get like a Google local listing. Like this isn't rocket science at all. This is just basic stuff. Basic. So
100%.
So keep going. What do you do from there? Like,
okay, great. So website comes up. And then I know, because I've done this before, I'm like, next thing I need is a map listing. So I find a commercial address. I get the postcard, real simple, optimize the Google map listing. And then within 30 to 45 days, I'm in the top 3 on the map pack. Now I got leads coming in, right?
Yep.
So people are starting to see it. My website is still taking time to rank. You can't rank websites real quickly anymore. They just take time. So I start building that out. Then next up, because I know there's gaps, I start looking at paid traffic. Okay. So then I'm going to jump over to AdWords, and I'm going to build an ad account. I'm really good at that. That's definitely a competitive advantage of mine. Yep. So I go in, I build my ad account, and then I just start running paid traffic to it. And then the more paid traffic that comes into the site, if you know how to work AdWords, it's real simple. AdWords will tell you all of the search strings that people are using that your ads showed up for.
Right.
Great. Now that's content. Now you're starting to see, where are people leaning? Are more people looking for retail or warehouse, office or warehouse, land? Now you start to understand, like, what is transacting? Where is the liquidity? Where is the herd moving to? What product do they want? And then you can start marketing to them and the product that they want to find in your local market. So you get tons of data. Right. So you use that data against the people that you're already beating up.
Yeah.
Okay. So which then just puts you farther and farther ahead of them.
Could you also, since you're seeing the data of like what people are searching and finding you for and where your ads are coming out, because it's all like search driven, could you take those keywords and then create like a page on your site, like with those, and then get that page ranked for those keywords as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. I like that.
And then what you'll find is like variations. Yeah. That's the other thing. So there's variations of the keywords or how people speak.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start to leverage that as well. So the data that you get from AdWords is tremendous.
Right.
And go back to, no one runs paid traffic. Yep. Okay. So now you have an insight into your competition. So whatever competition comes behind you, if they don't run paid traffic, then they don't have as much data as you do. Right. You have an edge. Gotcha. And you can run around and beat them up, because you can create those blog posts or those internal pages, and then you can rank all of those as well, which then drives more leads, more phone calls, and more revenue.
Well, it's just like a big snowball. It's like this tiny little thing. You do the basics, like you push it off the mountain and it starts going down and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think at some point people just also get comfortable as well. So they hit a certain level, they get comfortable while your snowball is still going down, because you're actively working on it. You're looking for these little nuggets that they can't find. And it just keeps getting bigger. Like this site just keeps getting bigger and bigger with more keywords, and then more. You have organic, and then you have paid on top of it, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And before anyone even realizes what's going on, or it's this giant thing before anyone realizes what just happened. Like they're just like, poof, all of a sudden, this competitor comes in, and they're like, wait, what? What's going on? Who is this person?
Pissed.
Yeah,
they were pissed. They all started pinging my LinkedIn account. I started getting all these random people looking. I'm like, why would you ever look me up? Yeah. It makes no sense. I don't know you. We haven't done a deal. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then here, just to give you one more, they turned me in.
To where?
Oh yeah. It's real funny. They turned me into Texas Real Estate Commission anonymously. What? They filed an anonymous complaint. They wrote 8 paragraphs about me.
Oh my
They said, and you're going to love this. They said that I was untruthful, that I was hiding, that you don't really know who owns the website. They had all of these things. And this is the greatest thing, is our videos that you helped me with. Yeah. Yeah. They're plastered all over my website. So tell me one more time how I'm hiding or that I'm untruthful. So my brokers call me like, hey, Jerred, there's this violation, you have to take it seriously. It's not a joke. Right. And there's a couple things that we need to make some adjustments to your website. I'm like, okay, a link, and a logo.
That's it?
That's it.
Don't you have to put like your license number and stuff up there too? Or was that already up there?
Yes, like that. Like I didn't have my license number. You just have to have a link. The link, once you click it, goes to track, and it gives the breakdown of who the agent or broker is.
Oh, got
right.
it.
So it's basically that information, but it's driven through an outbound link.
Got it.
So my broker Josh was just like, he was frustrated.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is just crazy that someone would spend all this time and write, paragraphs, Brandon.
Imagine if they put that effort into growing their own business or learning what you did.
So we're on this call, and Josh is like, so Jerred, what are your thoughts? I was like, I love it. I was like, I'm excited. And Josh just starts laughing. He was like, I have a headache. Why are you excited? And I was like, because I'm winning.
Yeah.
I was just like, if I ever had a doubt if I was winning or not, now I know.
Yep.
Because if you're going to sit around and write 8 paragraphs about me, it's because you have no business and I'm smoking you.
But that's
and you don't know how I'm winning, right? So they're super frustrated. So they're like, well, this is what we'll do. We'll just start turning him in for random shit so that we can take his website off, so it'll go down the pages. Yeah. And then I'm sure after 2 weeks, they're, pinging my site to see why it's still up. You see what I'm saying? And now they're like, well, I need to go find other Trek violations against this guy. And now there is none.
Right.
So it's such short-term thinking, but that is who you compete against. That's the 55 and older white male. That's business. His book of business is going in the toilet because his phone doesn't ring and he has no leads.
But that's the thing that stops most people is, in your case, it's someone reporting you. In a lot of the online entrepreneur space, it's like a hater or someone leaving a mean comment or something like that, where they don't recognize it as winning. The reason why someone's doing that is because they see something in you that they're not doing, or there's some kind of insecurity that they have, but you're the one doing the things. They're not doing any, they're on the sidelines. And that's what most people don't get, and it stops them. But your perspective on that type of stuff, I think, is what separates you from most of the people who are unsuccessful, is that you recognize that. You're like, I'm not going to be the person who's going to be reporting or commenting or doing that stuff because I'm already like 10 feet in front of you. And I think more entrepreneurs need to understand that and think about that it's not a bad thing if you're getting haters or you're getting reported. It's a great sign that you're doing things right. And you recognize that. But there's something that you said that I want to kind of get into now, which is the videos. You said you had the videos on the website and stuff like that. Because I think the way you went about doing the videos and reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce and all of that stuff is genius. Like, when you started telling me what you were doing, I was like, oh my God. So let's move into that direction. You got the website up. I'm assuming you got that violation taken care of.
Absolutely.
And you started using the videos at this point, correct? Is that right?
Yeah. So website comes up, right?
Yep.
Step 2, map. Okay. Rank the map, get it up there, get phone calls coming in.
Yep.
Step 3, run paid traffic. If it makes sense. I don't know everyone's niche, but just kind of use my framework as a basic framework, but understand some of it might not apply, while other tools will apply. So you just use the tool set that works best for you. But if you're running something locally, typically it's website, map pack, AdWords. And then if you do a consumer product, my product's B2B, then you look at social. You want to be heavy on Instagram and Facebook. I've tested them. They don't work in my niche. But then I wanted to do more and more video.
Yeah.
And the video is phenomenal because it warms up the lead.
Yep.
Is what it does, because it's you. And they love seeing who you are and how you act and the things you say, and they can get very comfortable with you via this video.
Yeah. So
when they call, it's not really, I don't really look at it as a lead. I name it, that's the category it lands in.
Right.
But it's so teed up, it's insane. Yeah. They send it in and they're just like, yeah, I'm not here to have a conversation with you. I need 4,000 square feet of second-gen restaurant space in North Austin. I got $500,000 cash in the bank, 3 locations. This will be my 4th. Go find it and I'll sign it.
Yeah.
That's the type of leads I get. There's no nonsense. This isn't, I was randomly, it's a very high quality.
Are they finding the videos on your website, or I'm assuming in like Google, YouTube via search, right? Like they're just Googling the keywords that you're ranking for. You've done videos on those. They're also on your website. So they just find you, hear you, know that you know what you're talking about, and then they're ready to go pretty much, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that,
And here, just to give you everyone an idea, my videos don't get, so for everyone that has this, I think people battle with this a lot, is they're like, well, I don't have very many views on my video. They get like all
who
interested
cares?
in the views.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. If I got 20 views a year on the video, that's 20 deals.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing 10 to 20 million.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So don't get so stuck on the views. I mean, if it's a consumer product and you really want to drive it, I get it. It needs to go viral. You want to push it hard. But if you're in a niche that doesn't lend itself to that, that's okay. It doesn't mean people are not out there seeking you and your information.
Yeah.
So just be okay with the lower view count as long as you're seeing lead growth, more conversations, and you're moving in the right direction. Then the videos are working for the size of the pie that you're going after.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people get these expectations of views means sales, or more exposure means more money. And everything is subjective. In your business, you don't need a lot of views. If you're selling a $2 razor, then yeah, you might need a ton of views. But so many people just think it's a one-dimensional type of thing where I have to hit this amount of whatever. And it's just usually some number they made up in their head. And if they don't hit that, then they're like, oh, I'm failing. I'm not doing great, blah, blah, blah. Not recognizing that a couple hundred people searched and found that video and they need what you sell. And a lot of people don't recognize that. And they get into these like rabbit holes or downward spirals of, oh my God, poor me, in victim mode essentially. And then they just, their business starts to unravel from that point. Yep. Okay. So there's two things I want to talk about. Number one is these videos. You showed me a competitor video of their videos. And I told you right off, I'm like, they're not working. I'm like, they probably spent $40,000 on these videos, and they're
awesome videos.
Quality wise, great.
Yes.
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yes.
Marketing wise, they sucked. And do you remember why? Do you remember the reason why I told you they sucked?
Yes.
What was it?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So their audience was incorrect. You listened to it because I think you had leased your office space maybe 6 months, 12 months before that. So you kind of had a little bit of a feel for what it looked like.
Yeah.
And you went through it and you're like, man, this is great. But here's the problem, Jerred. He's like, everything that they said, they're speaking to a commercial agent.
Yeah.
Well, what commercial agent leases property? None. They represent the tenant. So the audience that they went after was
them.
A 100% dead wrong audience.
It was them. They were the audience.
Yes.
They were speaking to themselves. They were talking about what they wanted to talk about. And when it comes to messaging, I do say the things that you want to say, but not in the context of when it comes to the product that you sell. When it comes to the product you sell, you have to be speaking to that avatar, that person that's going to be buying it. And they were speaking to themselves. They weren't speaking to the business owner. And then they basically, I'm assuming they probably spend anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. It's just like whoosh, right out the window.
Just to give you an idea, I think they're a top 10 largest commercial broker in the U.S.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like they manage billions.
It's crazy.
Okay, so these aren't dummies.
No.
Right. So don't think you're in the ring with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't know what they're doing, which is super common, is what you find. So if you'll do the work and do the research and open up your mind and don't limit yourself, you will find these gigantic gaps in big industries that you can exploit. And as well, it doesn't matter how much money they have per se. It comes down to how they see it and think about it. Because I have multiple brokers that come up to me and they're like, I don't even know how you do this.
Yeah.
Like you're so weird. Jerred, you've been doing this for 2 years and you're doing more business than 80% of the people in here that have been doing it for 10 plus.
Yeah.
You have more phone calls, you have more ups, you're getting in front of more property owners. They're like, this is not normal at all.
Yeah.
Right. And then COVID hits, right? They're all smoked. Why?
Yeah.
Because they don't have a process or a way to make their phone ring.
Yeah.
So they just hee-haw around and BS. And then each month we have a broker meeting. And in the meeting, they want to talk about who did deals because they're very positive. You know, they celebrate success at this brokerage.
Right.
And then Josh is like, Jerred, let's talk about your deals. The only deals we got. That was February. Jerred in March, more deals. Looks like Jerred in April. And then everyone sits on the call, can't say anything.
Yeah.
May comes around, June comes around, July comes around. Oh, Jerred has 3 office buildings in downtown Austin now.
Yeah.
Okay. Jerred, tell us about these buildings. Hey, do you see it? Just and then you're hammering them with biz.
Well, here's the thing is I actually think, because you said that company had billions in deals or something along those lines, so they have money. And another thing that I'm picking up on too, I don't know why I didn't recognize it till now, is that sometimes having that money puts you at a disadvantage because you're just willing to go spend it to have someone else do it for you, even though they may not know what they're doing. You have you could have hired anyone to come in and filmed whatever, but you didn't. You called me up and you're like, what do I need to do? I'm flying out there. We sat in my office. I showed you how to work the camera, how to do the green screen, how to find an editor, and you just went and you did it. And by the way, all of that stuff costs under $1,000. So you have these people that did $50,000 worth of production, I'm assuming, and then you came in with a setup that cost you under $1,000, and you just went, you did it, and you learned it instead of just hiring someone, which most people would do. Most people have the money. Most people that do have the money would go and hire it. So you're actually learning it. You're, like you said, you're putting in the work, which is what I love. And I call this the knowing. You're like gaining that knowing. You're gaining that like experience that gives you that competitive edge because most people aren't willing to go get that experience. And at this point, you ended up moving into something else with the Chamber of Commerce, correct? Like as another way to generate more leads?
Exactly. So, so it's like legs on the stool or funnels or whatever descriptor you want to use. So, so me, I'm like, I want more leads. I want more biz.
Yep.
So how can I get this? Right.
Yep.
So again, random ideas. I kind of know about small business. I know how they struggle.
Yep.
And then I look for small business owners that basically meet the 55 and older, white male-ish, people that own small businesses and they're not digital savvy.
Which by the way, people that own a business is the avatar, which is what the other company completely missed. You recognize that and you're just like, how do I get in front of more of these business owners who are going to be renting and buying commercial space, correct?
Yep. Yeah. Like for example, I don't go to meetups for commercial real estate agents.
Right.
I don't go to these little property share discussion things, Zoom meetings and nonsense.
Yep.
That's what everyone does. Why? It's easy. It's not stressful. You go in and you tell yourself that you're a commercial broker.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Your phone will never ring. You'll get no leads from any of that. It's a complete waste of time.
Well, and some people might
love to do this nonsense.
Some people might think that is what they're supposed to do too. Like they just get in and they don't know any better. They've been indoctrinated into this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go networking. You're supposed to blah, 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 blah. You're supposed to go do all of this stuff. And it doesn't work 99% of the time. You got to do something different.
And if you're doing that, if you're listening to this, and you're doing that now, stop. Stop. Go look at your calendar and all of that time that you're dedicating to that garbage to where you're talking that anytime you're not talking to your audience within reason is a complete waste of time. It is bubble gum for your brain. You are just doing this nonsense so that you can just have something to do because why? Because you are lazy and you don't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
That's what it always comes down to. The people that will win, we'll go back to it, are the people that create and put in the work. The people that want to ride their last name or an accreditation are going to zero.
Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing too, because yes, it might be you're lazy and you don't want to put in the work, but there might be people thinking that doing that stuff is the work. Like I when I first got started, I would go to networking things. And that was hard. That was like really hard for me because I'm kind of like you, introverted. I didn't like talking to people and I was doing the things that I thought I needed to do. And I was like, I'm putting in the work and doing that stuff. So if you're the type of person who's doing it because you're lazy, stop. If you're the type of person who thinks that is the work, stop because it's not. Either way, it's like, either way, it does not work. But what you did was you like recognize, okay, how do I get in front of these people? They're going to these meetings. They're going in. They're all in the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce has my audience. So
Yeah.
you came up with this idea to do what?
Yeah. And I learned that from you.
Yeah.
Listening to you, like the audience and then the framing and like those like bits that I've taken from your videos and just me and you going on hikes and just listening, right? And then taking that and applying it to my ideas. So
The messaging.
Again, messaging.
Yep.
Yeah, you say it way better than me.
Yep.
But what you do, what you're great at,
Yep.
I try to absorb, and then I take it and I kind of make it my own. And then I'm like, all right, if Brandon were to do this, or how would Brandon or somebody that's way better than me at this, how would he frame it? Where would he look? Where would he point his paid traffic? Right. So I didn't do paid traffic, but you can still point yourself in the direction, right? It's the same thing. It's just slightly different. So I was like, great. So who's my avatar? Who's my audience? And then I want to go be around the audience, and I want to be in the audience all the time. Right. So then I was like, easy layup, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So I was like, great, I'll go join. It was $150 or whatever for the year. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
So I go down there and I walk in, and it's a disaster. It's people are absolutely clueless. They're there, drinking, eating donuts, drinking coffee, eating donuts. Everyone's real polite, and they're all great human beings.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, 95% of them are absolutely lost.
Yep.
And they're seeking the information, but no one's willing to give it to them unless you pay them $5,000 a month to run their SEO, and they don't have it. So they're in this like dilemma, right? They're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. So I was like, well, great. I can take this basic background that I have in SEO, maps, and a little bit of video and paid. Mm-hmm. And then how do I start conversations with with my audience? And again, you're going to position it better than me, but basically this is how I'm dumb. I just break it down basic. Yeah. Nobody wants to listen to you.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to, hey, I'm Jerred. Do you want to lease some office space?
Right.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Hi, what's your name? It doesn't matter. I don't need to know it. Do you want to lease office space? Like, do you see how ridiculous? Like, it's so rude. It's so ridiculous. It's no one wants to talk.
There's no rapport being built either. No rapport.
Yeah. Yes. Right. You're just trying to take their money. Nobody wants. So I was like, man, well, I need to be in front of them. But how can I, what problem do they have that I can solve? Yeah. And it might not be commercial real estate, and that's okay. And I was like, well, wait a second, I can solve all these map, SEO, and video and paid traffic issues that they have, and I'll just give it away for free, an hour of my time. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then, so I just said, hey, I want to create an event with inside the Chamber of Commerce. I believe I'm about 100% sure that it doesn't matter what state you're in, they all run on the same platform. So you log into the back of the platform and you can create events. And you can make them your own. You can brand them. You can do everything. And then the chamber will promote them on your behalf for free. There's no charge.
Yeah.
So you create the event. Everyone signs up, and you just add value. You sell nothing. Do not be a jerk. Just keep pounding them with value. And if you do that, they will be ridiculously loyal to you.
So you were basically putting on workshops, teaching them like SEO and stuff like that for free. And I think it probably helped that you weren't selling, yes, you weren't pitching on the workshop, but even if they went to go look you up, they're not going to find like Jerred digital marketer SEO services. They're literally going to find like real estate agent or commercial broker. Yeah. And so essentially what it was a way to get in front of your audience and just build a massive amount of rapport, knowing that when they need that office space or they need to buy or sell office space, like you're the person they're going to call because you already helped them, and they trust you on a much deeper level now, right? Like that's kind of the logic and thinking here.
Yes, because what have you done for them?
Yeah, you held them out for free. Right?
Yeah. So, and then when you get into it, so SEO is a little dirty. Yep. And so they'll start talking to you about, who they pay and what they pay for. And I'm like, okay, so what do you pay for that? They're like, well, I pay $500 a month for social media management. I'm like, okay, great. Let's dig into it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is nonsense. This doesn't even convert. You're literally giving them $500 for $20 worth of work.
Yep.
I was like, put the $500 in your pocket. They're like, well, my business might drop. I was like, your business is not going to drop. Stop giving away free money.
Yeah.
take the money and move it over here. And then they'll do it. And then they're like, Jerred, I got 4 deals this week, or, make it up, whatever. I'm getting business is coming back in the door. This is great. Then they want more.
Right.
Now you're the person that made them successful.
Yeah.
So the loyalty is built. So the minute they need something, and then they not only provide referrals, but they're also loyal to you when something comes up that deals with commercial real estate.
Right.
They're more likely to lean on you because you've built that trust and loyalty through giving, not through taking.
Right. Well, and it's one of those things too, where if they do go to the chamber again or networking events and they're meeting other business owner who need real estate, you're the name that's going to come up. And I already know how this conversation is going to go. Like those conversations are going to be like, oh, I know this guy. He's helped me out so much, did all this stuff. And he didn't ask anything. And he does commercial, blah, 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 blah. But they're going to talk about how you help them with all these things that have nothing to do with commercial real estate. And they're going to use that as the reason why people should go work with you. But the other business owner is just going to take their word for it. The rapport is built and they're just going to go and do it. Now, what I love about what you did next was you started to offer to do people's videos for free. Like you're like, I will do your videos for free. Just come in. So what was the thinking behind that? How did you get the idea to start offering that as a lead gen source?
So it's real simple, right? So where is the gap in the market? So they're doing the basics. What are they missing though? Where's the gap? None of them have video. So they all need video. Okay, great. Why don't they have video?
Yep.
They don't have video because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Typically these, and I don't blame them. These people that do high-end videos, they should be paid their worth. I get it. But you're dealing with people that don't have those budgets.
Right.
So you're in this dilemma. Damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out a way to bridge that or fill that gap, then again, you're adding ridiculous value and you're allowing them to achieve something that they never thought possible.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't have the budget. It's too expensive, but so-and-so can do it, but we can't do it because, we're not on that level.
Right.
So what you're doing is you're raising them up and you're bringing them up to the level. And then you're showing them, you're like, look, it actually doesn't cost that much. Now, granted, we can't do the crazy videos, but we can start with the basics. Yeah. And the basics for them is good enough because you're going from 0 to something. So that rate of change is dramatic for them. Then if they get into it and the business builds, they'll move on. Yeah. And that's okay. That's what it's there for. But you're the one who planted the seed. You're the one who put in the time and the work to build them up. So you're giving, you're not taking.
Right.
And the only thing that you're doing right now is you're trading, you're giving up your time to be in front of your audience. And what you're doing with them is somewhat deep. Because you're going to learn about their business. You're going to learn about their problems. Because how are you going to construct the video without learning that, right? Like they're going to divulge it to you. Hey, what's your biggest issue? What's your biggest problem? What do your customers say about you? What is the biggest problem that your customer is trying to solve? And the more you get into it, I've had them come to me and say, Jerred, I'm very thankful for the video, but man, we went so deep on my business. I had never thought about these things the way you brought me to, like the decision-making project, or you were able to hold my hand and get me there.
Right.
I wasn't able to get there on my own. So again, it's just more, it's just the loyalty, and it just builds and builds and builds. And then it's just repetition. So what would you rather do with your time? Sit on that Zoom call, which you're not paying attention to. You're probably texting on your phone or scrolling Instagram and doing the bubblegum nonsense. Or you can take that same 30 minutes or an hour of your time and go speak to your audience.
Yep.
It's your choice
it's
how you spend
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is what I think is so great is you took, that you put in the work to learn the SEO and do all that stuff. So you started there, got the ball rolling. Then you went and you started to learn the video side of it. Like you came to me, you flew out, you bought the stuff, you started doing it on your own, learned the new skill. Then you just started offering the new skill to these people absolutely for free, just to build up a relationship with the audience. And now you, again, like I said, that snowball at the top of the mountain is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's all long-term thinking, which I think is cool. It's like put in the work, learn the skill, think differently, do it differently, let the seeds that I planted grow. And then you start to reap the benefits of that 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road or whatever it is. And so now we're 2 years into the journey, the commercials. Yep. Okay. Commercial. And how much are you doing with this thing? Like how much property are you leasing or whatever, however you guys.
At least my first year, I leased $4 million.
Jeez.
So to give you an idea for everyone that doesn't understand commercial real estate. So a guy broke it down on Twitter best. He's very well-known guy. Like he murders in commercial real estate. He's a general partner in multiple development deals. I mean, they're moving hundreds of millions of dollars on development. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, he came out and said, look, I don't think this has ever been spoken about or people have visibility in this. So he just did a little tweet storm. He said, this is what you should expect. He goes, and again, he's like, for everyone that graduated with your good old, real estate degree, or, you have your CCIM or whatever. Yep. He was just like, you're going to go broke. And this is why, because in year one, no one wants to talk to you and you're a nobody and you bring nothing to the table and you will make literally no dollars. Yeah. That is very common in commercial real estate. 0 for 12 months of work. Yeah. Then he talks about the grind, figuring out how to make your phone ring. And then in year 2, he goes, if you're lucky, you might pull 40 grand. And what you're going to do is you're going to figure out a way to quit. Why? Because all of your buddies from college that have corporate jobs are beating you, and now you have FOMO. Yeah. And you want to beat them, but the commercial real estate isn't there. So that's why you have this gigantic turnover. Mm-hmm. Okay. Which again, if you get in the game, that is your competitive edge. Because if it's a revolving door, then they don't have enough time to beat you because they quit early, right? So their website's never going to jump yours, the map, the AdWords, right? Everything that you're doing, you're building that ceiling that they're never going to get through, right. Which then you just keep taking more and more of the pie. Right. Year 3, you typically have, that's kind of like your breakout. And then 4 or 5, you can easily make $250,000, $500,000 a year. And that's very, very normal. Right. And then it just grows from there. That's pretty consistent. Gotcha. But first, like anything, right? Typically, first couple of years, it's dirt. You're just eating dirt daily. My first year, I did $4 million gross. Okay. They paid me 4 points on that. I made $160,000. Jeez. My marketing spend, I hope my competitors are not watching or listening, but my marketing spend for the year was probably somewhere around $3,000. Three grand. Jeez. All right. Now, everyone listening, you don't go and tell my secrets, please. Like, whatever you do. I told you a bunch of people coming in and blowing out my marketing spin. But if you find the right niche where it's archaic and you have people that will never compete against you, think about it. AdWords is supply and demand. Yeah. And if there is no demand for the click, then those clicks get real cheap. Yeah. I think you kind of like when you start out, remember you could buy 5-cent clicks. Yep. And then you're like, oh, I'll buy $10,000. Come on, 5-cent clicks and my profit margin is 500. Like, how many clicks can I buy? Yeah. Within reason, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not getting 5-cent clicks, gotcha. But I'm not paying $100 clicks either. You're going to start seeing all these people pop up in Austin giving video marketing workshops to the chamber comments for free now. Yeah. And then year 2, what's the gross look like? Year 2 was light because of COVID. Okay. I think I did around $2 million gross in year 2, which was light. Yeah. Because you got to remember they shut it all down. Nothing really transacted. I would say the win in year 2 with the COVID issue was really looking at my peers and watching what they were or were not doing. That was super interesting to me. So I didn't make a ton of money, I guess in relative terms. Yep. But the one thing that I did learn is, when there's like a saying, like in good markets make great brokers, right. But bad markets reveal that the brokers don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So when COVID hit, you could see the tide came out and all of them were flat. Yeah. Absolutely. Just bone dry, clueless. Man. And I was like, boom, here it is. Like, so everyone that you thought they might have had an edge on you, it got revealed real quick that, oh, wow, the only reason you believe they had an edge is because the market was going up. Right. Well, that's not an edge. Everyone gets that edge if you're in the market. So that was a great learning. The other one is how many of them felt lost, and they use that word. I'm a boat without a rudder. I feel, I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And if you're having that conversation or you're battling with that, it's because you're lucky. You have no edge.
Right.
You just showed up in the right market at the right time, and you got the lift from the great market. Doesn't mean you run a legitimate business. It doesn't mean you have processes and things in place to drive new biz. And that gets revealed when you have a recession or something, or a pandemic-y type, any type of event that slows something down.
Right.
Will reveal who has it figured out and who is just kind of like bobbing in the waves, or they're kind of clueless.
Right. Well, the thing is too, is you could even have a real sustainable actual business, and then something happens and whatever you were using is just gone. So for example, Facebook's been going crazy with ad accounts and stuff lately. And just, what I think is happening is they're like redoing their algorithm and things like that. And they'll like make it live and then it automatically flags a ton of people's accounts. And then they have to go through and manually review. So anyways, ours got, flagged for something, and we're heading right into our launch. And we're planning on spending 150,000 probably, if not a little bit more, on Facebook ads. And that's a huge thing for us, to be able to like have that lead gen come in. And it was gone. And I know in most cases people will be like, oh, that's just my launch. I don't know what to do. Like the things are up in the air and they're just freaking out. And I just sat down and like, okay, how do we drive the same amount of leads doing something different? Like what else, what are the options? What are like outside the box thinking? And I'm going to do a podcast episode on what those things were. Luckily we got the ad account back like 6 days later, so we didn't have to do that, but that's automatically where my mind's going. It's not in like panic and freak out. It's like, okay, what options do we have? What outside the box thinking can I put into place right now? And that's going to allow us to drive the traffic. And even in our last launch, we did the same thing. We do our Facebook ads, we do our YouTube ads, we do all that stuff. And I was like, well, let's just even try something. I don't want to be dependent on these people all the time. So I just went to my network and said, hey, can I do a podcast episode on your podcast? Can we drop it on this single day? And let's just see what happens. And we did that. And we generated like 20 sales or something like that from those episodes on a $3,000 product. So that's like 60 grand in extra revenue just by trying something different, thinking a little bit differently. And that's what you do. And that's what I think a lot of failing business owners won't do. So even if you have a sustainable business, but you're not critically thinking or looking outside the box, or you're just completely dependent on one thing and you don't recognize you're dependent on one thing, it's eventually going to lead to a problem at some point. And you recognize
like
that.
Here, like paid traffic, right?
Yep.
It's cheap and it gets expensive.
Yep.
At some point it might get too expensive. So if you're just sitting back and you're enjoying your little Facebook stream or your AdWords stream and you're not doing anything, it is a matter of time before somebody like myself or younger than me finds the gap and then comes in and puts pressure on you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and there's nothing wrong with organic PR. The podcast, I do podcasts. I don't look for them, but if people invite me onto a podcast, happy to do it. I did University of Texas.
Yep.
They have an entrepreneur program at the school.
Yep. And
I met the lady at the chamber. And she's like, Jerred, we typically do these in person, but because of COVID, we'd like to do a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And we want you to talk about entrepreneur and digital marketing and how you can kind of combine them and give them some ideas and kind of like a base to kind of generate thoughts and ideas from.
Yeah.
So I spent an hour with the school on a Zoom, and I think we had 50 or 60 students ish on the call and just went through it. I think most were there just to get the credit, the bonus points or whatever they gave them. Right. But the nice thing is you had 4 or 5, which was I loved because you could see they're working.
Yeah.
The 4 or 5 that had questions, because the way that they asked the question, I was like, oh, you're already doing this.
Yeah.
I was just like, I love it. I was like, not sitting around waiting for you to graduate. You're just sitting at a coffee shop at night or on weekends, and you're figuring out how to do drop ship. Yeah. You're figuring out how to do Amazon FBA, right?
Right.
They're just hustling.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was like, good for you guys. I was like, you guys are going to murder in life. Everybody here trying to get your 2 bonus points so that you can skip the test. I was like, good luck.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you went and did that too. The high school by Thousand Oaks High School now has an entrepreneurship class, and someone was like, "You need to go talk to them and speak to them." And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to do that." I mean, it's just really cool to see that younger generation kind of get the wheel spinning and just recognize that they don't have to go leave that school and just go into some job that they're going to hate or whatever. But like you said, yeah, sure, some of them were there for the credit, but that's awesome to hear that some of them, you can see the wheels spinning. You can see them already kind of experimenting. So that's cool.
So, and that's good. And that's great PR.
Yeah. 100%.
Think about it. You're allocating your time correctly, and you're creating a PR. You can say that you've done these things, and then the more you get involved and the more people you at the chambers and some other ones, you'd be surprised who you meet. Yeah. Economic Development Committee members at the city, county, and state level. Wow. You get around people that run magazines, newspapers, or big media firms will show up because they all belong to the chamber because they have to. It's kind of like a thing that you support the chamber. So occasionally they show up, and if you're the one adding ridiculous value, those people will respect you.
Yeah.
And then those people will be like, wow, we would love to make this better.
Yeah.
Now who are you talking to? And then now who do you get in front of? Do you see? So it's not, it doesn't always have to be like a one-to-one,
right?
Like a first order thinking. Sometimes you need to go to that second and third order thinking, because that's what's going to give you crazy growth in the long term.
Right.
Short term, you got to put in the time. And yes, are you going to go to meetings that are boring? Yeah. Are you going to go to meetings where not a lot of fruit, it doesn't bear a lot of fruit? Yeah. Are you going to show up on your Zoom calls to teach people video or SEO and no one show up? Yes, I can attest to this.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Just show up next Thursday. Show up next Thursday. Before you know it, they will keep coming back, and then it builds and it grows.
Every successful person has those stories where you do a webinar and no one shows up, or one person does. I remember one time I did a webinar and one person showed up because I put the wrong time in there. I was like, why is nobody? I put I put 9 p.m. everywhere when it was supposed to be 9 a.m. and one person showed up, and I was like, all right, everyone, put in the chat box. And he was like, okay, I hear a yeah over here and a yes and a yeah. Okay, great. Where's everybody from? Yeah. Oh, and I was just making things up. And yeah, we all have those stories for sure. Yes. Cool. Well, Jerred, thank you so much for being here on the second episode. If people want to learn more about you, follow you, talk to you, what can they do? Where can they go?
Yeah, I'm not a big social media guy anymore, man. I'm rarely on Facebook. I'm rarely on Instagram. The best thing to do is if you need anything from me, I'm always available. Only thing I have, do not waste my time. So just be respectful, but I will help you any way that I can. You can find me at commercialleaselocators.com. That's my website. Say it one more time. The phone number's on there. Yep, commercialleaselocators.com.
Cool. Awesome. Jerred, thanks so much for being here. And for all you listeners who have not left us a review on iTunes, head over to iTunes and do that now. We are always so grateful for all those reviews. More reviews we get, the more exposure we get. So I would be grateful and appreciate that. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.